Good morning, Athens, and welcome to Education Matters, the official voice of the youth. Education Matters is sponsored by Drug Free Athens, helping to prevent substance abuse by youth, Ellison's Professional Services. When it comes to your tax return, go with who you know, Ellison's Professional Services, and your local internet station, MediaRadioAthens.com. My name is Aiden Stevens, and joining me in the studio are
Michaela Rattery,
Nivea Hood,
and Kareem Lumpkin.
Today on Education Matters, we will be discussing financial guidance and different topics that relate to it with our guest, Mr. Brian Brooks, who is the marketing president of the Athens branch of the United Community Bank, and Mr. Todd Stichtenoth, who is the vice president relationship officer, also at the Athens branch of the United Community Bank. But before we jump into today's show, Michaela will give us our words to grow on.
This is Michaela with your words to grow on. Who said it? Tiffany Alicia, financial educator, author, and founder of The Budgetnista. What was said? Financial wholeness isn't about having it all. It is about what matters most. Alicia shared this insight in her 2021 book, Get Good with Money, which became a New York Times bestseller and helped redefine financial literacy for everyday people, especially women and communities of color, by focusing on empowerment rather than perfection. And that was Michaela with your words to grow on.
Also, before we jump into today's show, I will give us our history fact. This is Aiden Stevens with your history fact. Did you know that many African Americans started their own banks because segregation and discrimination limited their access to white-owned banks? These black-owned banks gave families a place to save money, get loans, and start businesses. They also help people build wealth and support their communities. This fact shows why financial literacy and smart money management have been important for generations. That was Aiden Stevens with your history fact.
Okay, so to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what you do at United Community Bank?
This is Todd. I'll go first. I have been in banking for about 20 years, and I started, I did a retail training program, which was a branch-based program. So I got to do all aspects of working in a bank. So when you go in, you see the teller line, so that's where I started. Then did customer service stuff and opening new accounts, helping people plan for what it is they were doing. Started doing kind of small lending on the personal side, and then I got into being management at the branch, so hiring people, going out and doing presentations, doing a little bit more small business lending, and now I've jumped over to do kind of full-blown commercial banking, so helping small businesses do day-to-day cash management, finance their needs, whether it's buildings, assets like vehicles, or just working capital needs as well, to make sure that they've got access to funds to continue to do what they need to do. And so it's been 20 years, hard to believe, never thought I'd be a banker 20 years later, but it's been a great journey. You get to meet a lot of interesting people along the way. There's a lot of ways to make money in this world, and you get exposed to a lot of different careers and paths, and we get to kind of live vicariously through our clients. So it's very interesting.
Agreed. Hey everybody, I'm Brian Brooks. I'm the market president for United here in Athens. I've been in banking for about 28 years, and my introduction to Georgia was through the University of Georgia.
Go Dogs.
Yeah, go Dogs, absolutely. When I was in college, I knew that there were two things that I was interested in. One was finance, math, money, and then the other was helping people. And I wanted to kind of find where the intersection of those two things were. So when I graduated from college, my initial approach was in our wealth management group, or our investments side of the bank. And it wasn't actually with a bank, it was with a different company in Atlanta. And I was able to quickly through actually more education. Actually, I ended up going back and doing a certification program at Oglethorpe University, and that's where I met a lot of people that I ended up working with in banking. So it's kind of cool that education was absolutely a part of that. So after the thing at Oglethorpe University, I was with First Union Bank, and I started on the consumer side, similar to Todd. So that was really dealing with all the different client needs as they come in day to day. What I liked about it was anything but routine. And, it felt good to be able to help people with something that they didn't particularly just know much about, and that really felt good. And so my career started in consumer banking, and it was about 5 years later that I got the opportunity to move over into our commercial team and our commercial part of the bank. And really, when we talk about commercial or consumer, we're talking about just broadly who we serve. Consumer is us, individuals, and commercial is businesses and nonprofits. And I found myself just really drawn to talking to people that owned their own business or worked for a nonprofit, and that's how I found my way coming over to commercial. And that brought me back to Athens in 2006.
That's nice. So, what is financial literacy?
I'll take that one, Brian.
Sure.
It is, I think it's more of a confidence. It's, it's a complicated world. How well do you know the day-to-day ins and outs of managing money? And that's really what it comes down to. So is it, as basic as a budget? Is it investing? Is it borrowing money? How does credit impact your ability to either buy things, whether that's a car, a house, or even just credit cards at stores? So there's a variety of kind of aspects that it can be, but it impacts kind of every aspect of your life. And so just having the confidence to kind of navigate those things, I think is what financial literacy is. It's one of those things where, hey, if I don't have it, it's not important to me, or I don't know how to do this. But when you don't know kind of what it is or how it works, or have people that can kind of help explain maybe what it is and how it can benefit you, I think that's where you can get into trouble by not knowing it. So if you know or are exposed to those things, you know how it applies to you. I think that's where you're educated in terms of what it is that you need to either know and experience going into something. That's what it means, at least for me. So
sure. And that I pretty much am right in line with that. It's just having a working knowledge of finance, which is going to be part of your world, whether you want it to be or not. We live in a world where we have to buy things, services, goods. We need to save for rainy days, and there's a much more efficient way about putting that in a bank for safekeeping versus keeping it kind of hidden somewhere at the house. Mm-hmm. So it's a working knowledge of how to be able to get through the world with finances. And I think that through banking, we're able to simplify and make that more efficient. An example would be going to Spectrum to pay your bill. That was very much a very common thing. People would drive to Spectrum. It used to be over here on Hawthorne, and you would wait in line to get to the front, and then you'd pay your bill. And you'd think about how much time you'd spend. You'd spend 15, 20 minutes getting there. You'd spend maybe another 15 or 20 minutes in line, and then you'd spend another 15 and 20 minutes going on. And that was just very common. Now it's a click of a button. It's through online banking. And if you think about it in just terms of like comparing those two actions and accomplishing the same thing, when you use online banking and bill pay, it's secure, it's quick and convenient compared to the old school way of driving your payment to Spectrum,
So
For example.
I just want to ask, what inspired your involvement in financial literacy initiatives?
Brian, do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, I think just fundamentally, I feel like that most people have an interest in financial literacy, and it was something that felt good to be able to help people with something that came fairly easily to me and something that my skills were growing in. And so I felt like it was inspiring to be able to help people and to be able to work with a team of other professionals that help come together to bring the solution. And that's a really important component of the bank that I like, is I don't have to know all the answers. Actually, I almost certainly don't have all the answers, but I have a really great team that I can rely on, and together we put forth what we need. And so I think that was kind of what inspired me, was just helping people.
Yeah, and for me, working in the branch environment for 15 years, you get to know individuals, and you see kind of the pain that they go through when things are not going well. Either they've run out of money, we've got overdrafts on an account, fees associated with it, or they've experienced fraud, or somebody scammed them and they've lost money that they've had, or they're going through a situation and they don't have that rainy day fund, or they don't have something in place that they can kind of pull from. You feel for people. We're humans. To me, it touches me, the emotional side of me, and you want to prevent people from kind of experiencing that. You want to help them plan for those things, so when they face those things in the future, it's not devastating. And I think for a lot of what financial literacy is, it's helping people prepare for that what if, because something's gonna happen. Life happens, and it's not always rainbows and butterflies. Sometimes there's some thunderstorms out there that if we don't have an umbrella, we're going to get wet. So the more we can kind of help people prepare and plan for that, is better. And that's what I want to do, and why I think it's important, especially talking to kids at a young age. To me, it's it's something that my kids don't get exposed to in school. That they're not teaching kids about financial literacy at a level that I think they should. So it's our job to maybe do that. We need to share our knowledge with folks out there, and hopefully help take those steps to put some things in place and prevent bad things in the future.
Thank you. And with that, we'll be right back after a quick run of commercials.
Are you passionate about sports like football, basketball, or even flag football? The Athens-Clarke County High School Completion Initiative is looking for students in grades 8th through 12th to broadcast high school and Little League sports live on MURadioAthens.com. If you or someone you know is motivated, dependable, and ready to learn what it takes to break into the exciting world of sports broadcasting, this is your chance. To apply, submit your audition tape to hsci@acchsci.org by July 20th. Don't just watch the game, call it on your local internet radio station, MURadioAthens.com. Apply today. Let your broadcasting journey begin.
I didn't always think I'd make it to high school, but programs like the ACC High School Completion Initiative helped me stay on track. Now imagine helping students like me just by grocery shopping. With your Kroger Plus card, you can link to ACC High School Completion Initiative, Inc. through Community Rewards. It doesn't cost you anything. but it helps provide support, resources, and a second chance. So next time you shop, know you're doing more than buying groceries. You're helping someone reach graduation.
This is Juice Arabia with an underage drinking myth and fact sponsored by Drug-Free Athens. Myth: I can drink alcohol and not have any problems. Fact: if you are under 21 years old, alcohol is a big problem. It is illegal. Kids who drink are more likely to get poor grades in school and are at higher risk of being crime victims. That was an underage drinking myth and fact sponsored by Drug-Free Athens. For more information on preventing youth substance abuse, go to drugfreeathens.org.
You're still here with Education Matters, the official voice of the youth. My name is Aiden Stevens, and joining me in the studio are
Michaela Rattery,
Nivea Hood,
and Kareem Lumpkin.
Today on Education Matters, we will still be discussing about financial guidance and some topics that relate to it, with our guests, Mr. Todd Stichtenoth and Mr. Brian Brooks. But before we jump back into today's discussion, Nivea will give us our word of the week.
I'm Nivea, and this is your word of the week. The word of the week is budgeting. Budgeting is a process of creating a plan to track and manage and keep up with your income over a specific time period. The word budgeting traces its roots back to the Latin word bluca, which meant leather bag or knapsack, which is a wallet. Effective, used in a sentence. Effective budgeting and careful expenses, tracking, or essential strategies for avoiding debt and reaching your financial goals. And that was the word of the week by Nivea Hood.
Thank you, Nivea.
Okay, so to get it started, before we went to the commercial break, you were talking about preparing people. How could you prepare somebody to avoid debt?
I think debt gets, maybe it sounds daunting or kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
And when used appropriately, debt's not a bad thing. I don't know about you, but I think the average home price is $300,000-$400,000 these days.
Yeah.
Really hard to save that, and so debt is a way to make that happen. So debt's not a bad thing. Being in debt may not necessarily be a bad thing. It's more about the ability to repay it. And so to me, an important factor is when you earn money. So let's just say, Nevaeh, when you get $100, do you save any, or do you say, I have $100 to go spend, and then you go out and spend it?
My mama makes me save my money.
Yeah, and so an important factor is save 10%. And so if you get in the mindset of always saving some money, and we call it pay yourself first. So if you're always in the mindset of paying yourself first, when you take on debt or you go buy a car and you have a car payment, if you've paid yourself first, you should always have some money left over. So you should never be in a situation where you then can't make that payment, or you can't. So you just need to know what you can afford. It's real easy in I think our culture to get away from, we like the flashy things. Latest and greatest cell phones that are, pushing $1,500 nowadays. Sometimes you have to say no. And when you learn when and where you can say no, I think that's how you avoid getting into debt that you can't pay.
What financial habits do you think are most important for someone who is trying to pay down their debt?
So, Nivea talked about the word, or being the budget, right? And that's something that's near and dear to my heart. I love a budget. So a budget is really just a plan. It's a plan of what you're going to do over a period of time with your money. usually is a month. Sometimes you make it a week. Sometimes you make it a day. It's whatever it needs to be. But it's essentially, instead of just doing what feels right with your money, which is going out to lunch instead of eating in, it's going to the movies, it's doing all those things. When we do what we want all the time, we run out of money. That's human nature. Can you all relate to that?
Yes.
Without having a plan, things kind of just go the way they go. So with a budget, it's a way to be able to be smart about not spending all your money,
Right.
but also prioritizing on what you're going to spend it for.
I think you also need to give yourself grace, because how often you put a plan in place, how often does it go exactly as you thought it would? You know, there's always something that pops up that you're like, well, I didn't know that was going to happen. Well, all of a sudden, you know, and the same is true with money. If, you know, you write something down on paper, it's been 100 degrees outside lately.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think your power bill goes up in the summertime?
Yes.
And so having a budget, you know, doesn't, you know, you've got to be flexible with it. There just has to be, you know, some grace built in. And so to me, building in some cushion. So it's not wise to have a balanced budget all the time. You should build in a little surplus.
Absolutely.
And that way you can cover those things that are a little bit higher and things that maybe you weren't expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Unexpected expenses.
What are some simple budgeting habits that people can start using right away?
I think the first step is just actually putting together a budget.
Write it down.
I think a lot of people, that seems really intimidating, but really it's not. It's just your best guess of what your income and expenses are going to be.
Yeah. Kareem, do you have a budget written down?
No. Like, how I do it is, in my mind, if I go somewhere and I have like money saved over, I just wait until I get more money to like use that money to like, I kind of like save and then stack it on top of each other, so that way if I go somewhere where I really have to spend money, I don't really have to worry about asking for more.
Yeah. Michaela, Aiden, do you guys have something written down? Have you ever gone through and written
Yes.
something down?
Yes, because
But I do have a savings account.
yeah, because like my dad sends me money every once in a while, and like sometimes like I be putting it like for like a random like pair of shoes that I want. So yeah, I do write it down.
Okay.
And that's so to me that's the best first step, and then it's a good second one is always revisiting that budget. So what you do, you know, I think maybe the start of the year, everybody's got resolutions. It's a great time to maybe revisit your budget. So, you know, hopefully over time you're either making more money, but your expenses are always changing. And so if you don't think your budget's changing, you're probably falling behind a little bit.
And I want to know, what are some common mistakes that people make with their first bank account?
I would say probably spending more than what's in the account, which we call an overdraft, or it's also referred to as insufficient funds.
Yeah, it's just not writing down or not knowing what's in the account, and so you know, it's, and I'm like everybody else, you know, I want to go out and I want to go have dinner, or I want to go buy, you know, new pair of shoes when I need that. I don't want to have to go check my budget, make sure I've got, you know, how do things look. But you've got to be disciplined in checking your account. You know, banks provide the tools. You can track your balance at your fingertips on your phone. So it's a lot easier nowadays to stay on top of that. But you've got to learn to say no. I said that before. You know, if you're living beyond your means because you're trying to keep up with what you're seeing on Instagram and social media, I think that's how you get into trouble with living outside of your means, and all of a sudden now you're talking about debt. And you've got to be careful with, to me, kind of the predatory aspects of advertising and credit cards, and everybody wants you to, get this, you'll save money. But if it's outside of your budget, you end up paying interest, and then it's kind of working against you. So you got to be careful with that.
So what y'all just spoke about, does that all like connect somehow to like credit and the credit score?
Are you asking, does...
Going over like what's in your banking account, like?
Yeah, and so typically like your bank account does not impact your credit. And I think, now you're seeing more and more things that do impact your credit other than actual credit. And so typically what impacts your credit is how you use any kind of credit account. So when we say credit, that's a credit card, you have a loan on a car, or when you buy a house, you get a mortgage. Those are the types of things that would generally show up and generate a credit score. So it's a reflection of how you've used credit in your past. And so you're essentially, your name is now reduced to a credit score. And so it doesn't make you feel very good. It's impersonal, but that's the reality of it. And so you're judged based on your behavior. How have you made payments? How much of your balances have you used? Those types of things. And so, but generally, if you just have money in the account, that's not helping you generate a credit. And so they do work together, but they're kind of separate in terms of how they kind of interact with each other. So it's you want to have a balance between, to me, the two. Having cash in the bank helps you borrow money when maybe you don't need it, and so you get to decide when do you use the cash you have, or does it make sense to kind of borrow. But if you haven't managed your credit, or you took out a loan and didn't pay it back, do you think you're going to have the opportunity to go borrow money in an emergency?
Nope.
No.
Not a chance, or a very slim chance. And if you do, it's going to be really expensive. And so you got to manage it on the front end, so when you do need it, you can access it. I always remember it's a lot easier to borrow money when you don't need to. As opposed to if you're in a desperate situation, it's really hard to get money or borrow money because you're just a higher risk. So,
I heard you say having money in the bank is an important component to, at some point, borrowing money, and I think that's really true. I think having a checking account and a savings account is a really good first step. Borrowing money, utilizing credit, that's something that is a great conversation to have with your banker at the bank. That's not something you need to know all the details about, but it is it's something that you can get some help with. But having a checking account and a savings account and just starting to use those and actually build up some funds, that's really a great start to a good credit report. Aiden, you said you had a savings account. Do you have a checking account too?
Not yet, but that's pending.
That's in the works, huh? What about you, Nivea? Do you have any bank accounts yet?
I got a Cash App card, Cash App account.
Well, that Cash App has a savings account.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
they work pretty much the same way.
They do.
I mean, it's, hey, you've got money in there, and then they're trying to make it easy for you to spend money.
Yeah.
In and out.
Michaela, what about you?
I have a savings and a checking.
All right. Yeah. Good. This is for all three of you. Can you view your accounts online?
Yes.
Yeah. Nivea, you too?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you all use that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check it twice a day.
Good. So that's a really good habit to have. To stay on top of your banking. You don't want to obsess about it, but at the same time, I mean, it's usually something I look at in the morning, every morning.
I would say a question for you guys is, and I remember as a young, when I was young, going to the bank with my parents do you guys ever go to the bank? I feel like that's less and less
Yeah,
common.
my mama, she has a bank at like Wells Fargo, and I go with her when she goes and get money.
And everybody wants to go and get the sucker, but it's to me it's so important to go to the bank. And a lot of this, I don't, no one needs to be a financial expert. That's what we do. But it's about the relationship that you have. And so if you've got questions on credit or just bank accounts, or, hey, what are some tools that I can, make my life easier, knowing who to go talk to, I think is an important factor. Being comfortable going in and talking to somebody and saying, hey, this is what I need some help with. Give me some, feedback or guidance. What would work? So it's important to have that relationship with your bank, in my opinion.
And not all creditors are equal. Creditors are businesses that lend money, right? And so have you ever seen the place like the car lot that says no credit check,
buy here, pay here,
right. They'll finance it. Well, they're a creditor. They charge a really high interest rate because they don't particularly care about your credit history. The bank is a safe place to be able to start your credit history. We have something even as simplistic as a secured credit card, where your money is actually what is securing the credit card. So we have really simple ways to be able to start your credit history. But again, I think that's really just a good conversation to have with your banker.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And with that, we'll be right back after a quick run of commercials.
Athens, Clarke County is one of the most food insecure communities in Georgia. Every night, thousands of Athenians, both young and old, go to bed lacking sufficient amounts of quality and nutritious food. It's a tragedy being addressed by the nonprofit organization Feed My Sheep Ltd. Once a week, the members of Feed My Sheep Ltd. deliver food to the homes of people in need. If you or someone you know is in need of quality nutrition, call Feed My Sheep Ltd. at 706-850-6499. That's 706-850-6499. Feed My Sheep Ltd. It's more than serving food, it's serving God.
Rabia with an underage drinking myth and fact sponsored by Drug-Free Athens. Myth: I can drink alcohol and not have any problems. Fact: if you are under 21 years old, alcohol is a big problem. It is illegal. Kids who drink are more likely to get poor grades in school and are at higher risk of being crime victims. That was an underage drinking myth and fact sponsored by Drug-Free Athens. For more information on preventing youth substance abuse, go to drugfreeathens.org.
You're still here with Education Matters, the official voice of the youth. My name is AJ Stevens, and joining me in the studio are
Michaela Rattery,
Nivea Hood,
and Kareem Lumpkin.
Today on Education Matters, we will still be discussing about financial guidance with our guests, Mr. Todd Stichtenoth and Mr. Brian Brooks. But before we jump back into today's discussion, Michaela will give us our scholarship of the week.
Your scholarship of the week is given to you by Michaela. The scholarship name is Discover Student Loans Scholarship Award. This scholarship encourages students to think about their educational goals while helping ease the cost of college. It's a great opportunity for students interested in building a strong financial future. Eligibility requirements: must be at least 16 years old and a U.S. resident, planning to attend or currently attending an eligible college or university. No minimum GPA or essay is typically required for entry. Application process: complete the online entry form, submit your contact information, and verify your eligibility. Winners are selected through a random drawing. Deadline: The scholarship is offered throughout the year with any year recurring entry periods. So students should check the current application window before applying. How to apply? Visit the official scholarship page through Discover Student Loans to review the current rules, deadlines, and complete the online application. And that was Michaela with your scholarship.
Thank you, Michaela. So I know before break we were talking a little bit about savings accounts and checking accounts. So I want to know, what's the difference between the two?
Checking account is probably the most common, but that's where money in, money out. So the majority of your expenses. Savings account is going to be kind of that separate.
It's interest bearing generally. That's a big distinction between the two, is that with your savings account, you're earning interest and you're limited to generally 6 withdrawals per month.
Yeah, the whole idea of a savings account is you hope you don't need it. You're saving, you're hoping it's there. The checking account is the daily transactional account. That's where you make your deposits. That's where you spend money from. That's where your debit card's tied to. It's going to be tied to that checking account. Savings account, you're typically not going to have access on a card, so you can't go to the store and swipe it and pull it from your savings account. You typically need to transfer it over to that checking account to access it in that way.
That makes sense.
So, can I go?
Yeah.
Okay, so why is it still important, even though you hope to never use it, but why is it still important to like have like an emergency account or like a savings account?
If everything went to plan, then you could probably get away without having one. But just like life, things happen. And so I just think about my experience over the years, and there's just been plenty of times where things have just been more expensive than I expected. Actually, that happens more often than I care to admit. Life is expensive. So, what I find is that a savings account isn't usually something I tap into for a full expense. So if I have like a car repair that came up, right, and this is actually this is accurate. It's $2,600 to redo the suspension on one of our cars. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to lay out at once. But what I do is I decided, okay, I'm going to take some from a checking account and I'm going to take some from a savings account, and that's just the way that I do it. So generally what I'm doing with my savings account is I'm just using that to kind of offset, make the expense a little bit more tolerable.
To me, the savings account gives you the option to choose how to best pay for something that you didn't know was coming.
Yes.
And so we talked about credit. And so if I've got the ability to, hey, I could borrow money to make this purchase, or do I have the cash to make this purchase? I then have the choice. I'm not forced into either borrowing money at a high interest rate or depleting my savings account, and then I don't have a rainy day fund, or I'm not prepared for that next car repair or whatever else happens. And so, I don't know about you, but every time I go to the grocery store, I spend $100 on like one meal. And so it's just more expensive to do things. And whether that's car, house, you name it, things are just getting more and more expensive. And so to me, it just makes it more important to have something set aside to be able to access that. I sleep better at night knowing how I'm going to pay for something, whether that's my savings account or some kind of credit account that I have. If I didn't know it, I would lose sleep. I just would.
So how do people know which account is better for them? Like a savings or a checking, how do they know which one they should open?
I generally, checking account's kind of your starting point. And I think when you're young, savings accounts obviously where you're not the one going to the grocery store making, purchasing everything. So you may not need that. But as you get older, when you get a job and you've got daily expenses. Kind of that's that moment. I think kind of the magic age in Georgia is maybe 18. I think is when you can legally enter into a contract to open a checking account. And so there's some tools online like Greenlight, or you mentioned, the Cash App, tools like that are there's guardrails in there to where hopefully there's not fees, things of that nature to kind of help introduce you to kind of some of these concepts. But at the end of the day, checking account it's a contract. There's consequences if you don't manage it appropriately, and so you've got to be a certain age typically, or have a parent sign on with you to kind of open it before you're that age. So that's typically where you're going to start when you've got daily expenses.
One thing I would just add to that, and that is, when we talk about, your savings account is for emergencies. I mean, everyone's got a different definition of what an emergency is. Mine was a $2,600 suspension bill. That was enough for me to be like, I'm gonna grab a little bit from my savings account. So, it's not like it's an untouchable account. It's an account that I use to be able to buffer expenses. So what I'll do to kind of offset is I'll put a little extra away if I can to build it back up.
Well, it's also there for not necessarily emergencies, but maybe it's something you want to buy, and it takes several months to save up for it. It's a good place to kind of separate it, hide it, and access it when you've got enough to do that. So it's not just emergencies, but it's just the habit of kind of hiding money from yourself on some level. So,
agreed.
So, what's the difference between a credit card and a debit card? Because I keep hearing y'all mentioning them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The debit card is typically tied to your checking account, so it's money you have. So you're not borrowing money. The credit card is based on your credit score. They're going to assign, your credit score and your income. They're going to assign a limit, and then it's your job to pay that back. So if you make, let's just say $1,000 a month, maybe they give you a credit card with a limit of $500, and it's up to you to go spend it however you want to, but then you got to pay it back. And so you'll have a monthly payment, and that's where if you don't make that payment, what do you think happens to your credit score?
It's going up. It's going down.
You think you're going to be able to get another credit card, and so when you want to go get another credit card and you haven't managed the card you've got well, not going to be able to do it. And so more times, so you mentioned your kind of Cash App or, the cards that you've got. So debit card is going to be, again, tied to your cash. So it's just a different way of spending cash that you would typically have in your wallet. Whereas the credit card, you're borrowing money and then you got to repay it.
So whoever you're buying something from and using your debit card or credit card, from their perspective, it's the same. It goes through Visa, MasterCard, the credit cards do, the debit cards as well. But the main difference for the consumer is if it's on a credit card, you're going to put it on that card and have to pay it back. If it's a debit card, it's going to come directly from your checking.
Mm-hmm.
So one question before break, what is a loan?
What is a loan? You are essentially just borrowing money in some way, shape, or form. So as a bank, obviously, we loan people money all the time, and usually there's some kind of purpose for it. So a loan may be for vehicles, a common one that we do, houses or property. Or it may be kind of working capital. And so when we say working capital, it's similar on the personal side of kind of what a credit card is. It's just kind of extra money that you may need. So some months, maybe I've got more expenses than I thought I would. I can pull money or I can use my credit card. And then I know kind of next month, maybe I need to, hopefully those expenses kind of even out and I can then pay that back over a short period of time. And so it's just borrowing money from somebody or a bank or with a promise to repay it. And I think that's important. You've got to repay it.
It's a formal agreement. So it's an agreement that has all your information on there that identifies you as the borrower, and it has all the terms of the loan and what the interest rate is and how you pay it back. Generally, with a loan, it's more of a regimen. You pay the same amount every month for a certain amount of months. So like a car loan is a really good example. You might have a $250 loan payment, car payment for 60 months. It's the same every time. The credit card is what's considered a revolving account, which means you can borrow up to a certain amount, pay it down, and then borrow again.
And every time you borrow money, you need to update your budget and make sure that payment is in that budget.
Ding, ding, ding. That's right.
Most people don't do that.
Yeah.
They go out and buy that car, and then they've got a $500 car payment, and they didn't update their budget. And then they're like, "Where's all my money?" Well,
Right.
you didn't budget for it.
Yeah.
Thank you. And with that, we'll be right back after a quick run of commercials.
Good morning and happy Red Ribbon Week. Remember, life is a puzzle, solve it drug-free. Every puzzle piece is different, just like you. Staying drug-free means protecting your health and embracing what makes you special. You don't need drugs to fit in. The best puzzles are made when every piece shines in its own way. Be proud, be you, and keep adding positive pieces to your life's big picture. Celebrate your uniqueness. Live drug-free with support from Drug Free Athens.
With an underage drinking myth and fact sponsored by Drug Free Athens. Myth: I can drink alcohol and not have any problems. Fact: if you are under 21 years old, alcohol is a big problem. It is illegal. Kids who drink are more likely to get poor grades in school and are at higher risk of being crime victims. That was an underage drinking myth and fact sponsored by Drug Free Athens. For more information on preventing youth substance abuse, go to drugfreeathens.org.
Stop scrolling. This takes 30 seconds. Open your Kroger app, search A-CC High School Completion Initiatives Incorporated, and hit enroll. That's it. You shop, we educate. Make your groceries count.
You're still here with Education Matters, the official voice of the youth. My name is Aiden Stevens, and joining me in the studio are
Michaela Rattery,
Nivea Hood,
and Kareem Lumpkin.
Today on Education Matters, we will still be discussing about financial guidance with our guests, Mr. Brian Brooks and Mr. Todd Stichtenoth. But before we jump back into today's show, Kareem will give us our 2-year health fact.
This is your 2-year health fact with Kareem. Did you know that your mouth is home to over 6 million bacteria? Food, water, and body heat make it a perfect breeding ground for bacteria to grow. Brushing your teeth for 2 full minutes removes the sticky plaque off your teeth. How to brush your teeth. You're supposed to brush your teeth using a toothbrush at a 45-degree angle, using small circular motions with toothpaste, a little dot of toothpaste on the toothbrush. Brushing your teeth also stops gum disease such as cavities and gingivitis. And brushing your teeth helps fight bad breath, protects your teeth from plague, infections, and tooth decay, all while keeping your teeth clean and safe. This was Kareem with your 2-year health fact. Okay, so my question was, what do you think people should understand about using credit cards and loans before they actually start using it?
Yeah, to me, you have to pay it back. And so and I'll never forget, being in college and seeing kids, and was always easy to get a card, get that first student credit card, and then it was even easier to go out to the store and go buy stuff and not even worry about how you were going to pay for it. And so you've just got to know how you're going to pay for it before you use it. That would be my advice. Don't necessarily use it unless you know how or where you're going to be able to pay it back from.
So don't count your chickens before they hatch, basically.
Yes, because
then you're going to end up selling whatever it is that you bought for half of what you paid for it to try and pay it back.
I like that metaphor. I like that. So, if y'all could teach a student any lesson about money, what would it be?
Mine would be budgeting. It's just that fundamental and important. I think that and having a relationship with a mentor or a banker, somebody that you can talk to your finances or talk about your finances.
Yeah, I would say make sure you know the basics, but you don't need to know everything. You just need to know who you can go talk to that does know. I won't say maybe not everything, but can help you answer the questions that you don't know. Don't be afraid to ask questions when you don't know. Don't let I would say a lack of confidence with money or finance and inaction kind of paralyze you, because I think that causes problems.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
Nope. Ask those questions.
That's right.
So what are some financial resources or tools you recommend for people to use?
I think primarily the app or website that's associated with your bank or service provider. That's a way for the banks, and all the institutions have put a lot of time and effort into making that a really helpful tool. So I would say use it. That's a really good initial tool. But it doesn't take the place of a person. And I think that, again, it's just really important to have a relationship with who you're doing your banking with.
Yeah, online banking's that's important because everything is at your fingertips. It's no longer about you writing down your transactions. You can immediately see them on your phone when you do them. And there are budgeting tools. Most banks will provide them. Maybe online's not the right tool for you. Maybe just writing it down is. So just because there's a tool out there doesn't mean you have to use it. I would challenge you to find what works best for you and what resonates with your mind and how your brain works, and stick to that. I like writing things down because it's something physical, I can see it. I get lost online, or if I do a budget online, how many windows do you guys have open on your phone?
Probably like 35.
Max 2. I hate.
And so I think my wife had like 250, and I'm like, I don't know how you find anything.
One time, I went through my mama thing because I was going to Safari to search something up because we were trying to go somewhere, and she had the limit. We had to delete one of her tabs.
Yeah, maybe we're just old and we don't know how to delete stuff. But I'm like, going back to be able to find something online that you've kind of done, to me, is a challenge. And so make it front and center. Force yourself to see what it is that you've done. Don't let it get lost in kind of the digital world. So,
yeah. So, high school students that are in 12th grade getting ready for college, they start looking into loans. What is some advice you would give them when they start looking into loans? Because I know it's a such thing as bad loans and good loans.
So I really think that when it comes to loans, if you're, either already a student or becoming a student, I think really the financial aid office of the school that you're going to is going to be your best bet. They're going to be able to not only look at loan options that are guaranteed by the U.S. government, which allows for a good interest rate and good terms. I just generally don't think private school loans are really something that are a good avenue.
Yeah, a lot of so we don't do student loans. Like if you come to see me at the bank and you say I need a student loan, there are certain rules and regulations with them, and a lot of it is when you're a student, school is really kind of your full-time job, and so you don't have that income source, you don't have that ability to repay, and so a lot of times your student loans will be structured in a way that you don't start paying them until after you graduate. And so that's something that the kind of the student aid office of colleges and campuses can typically walk you through. What's the funding mix to essentially pay for college? Is it all a loan? Is it the Hope Scholarship? Is it certain grants? They'll help you kind of identify what that pool looks like and how does that get divided and structured. But so they're the best resource. Talk to the schools directly about how does this work and what can I qualify for, and a lot of that goes into when you decide on a major as well. You'll see things in the news about, hey, I went to school and I got a degree in just history or something that didn't translate into a career that maybe they were interested in. And so just be intentional about that career choice and make sure that you're investing in an education and a college degree that's going to translate into a profession that's going to allow you to be able to pay that student loan back.
Mm-hmm. And what advice would you give someone opening their first checking or savings account? For the first time ever.
First time ever.
Take the business card of the individual helping you and don't be afraid to call them.
That is well said, sir.
And how can listeners get involved or learn more about United Community Bank's financial literacy program?
I would direct listeners to our website, which is www.ucbi.com, and we have a hyperlink on the site for financial literacy. I believe it's on the bottom.
Yeah, and there's I think various courses and things there. It goes back to the relationship, with your local bank. Go talk to them. A lot of times there's programs where we can pull things. So if there's a specific topic that you want to know more about or would be important to a group, we can generally pull some very detailed, specific things for individual topics. So credit, saving, investing, mortgages, things down the road. Talk to the bank and see what they're willing to do. But we'd love to do things like that.
And we like to ask all of our guests this question: why is education important to you?
To me, education lets you be self-sufficient in some way. So the more you know what you're capable of, or maybe what you need help with. And so when you don't know anything about finance, you're relying on other people to help you, and that's where I think people can kind of take advantage of folks. There's a lot of predatory stuff out there, and so the more you know, the more you're informed about what should be right and wrong, in a sense. And so if you don't know, then you're kind of at the mercy of who you're relying on. And that, to me, that scares me. And so I want to know more and things outside of what I do day in and day out. So I want to know about trying to fix my car so I don't go to the mechanic and feel like they're overcharging me or making me pay for things that I don't need, or fixing things around the house. Instead of calling somebody that's going to, charge me $200 just to show up, and maybe I could have fixed it. So, just having that thirst to kind of learn more, kind of empowers you.
And I would say, I think what's really cool about education is it's a safe place to be able to, challenge yourself and do things that you don't know about and get good, honest feedback and have your peers to be able to talk it through. I just think that's
ask questions too.
Yeah, that's not normal out in the world. So to be able to be in an environment where you can be safe and do that and learn and grow is really really special. And that's what education has been for me.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening to Education Matters, the official voice of the youth. Education Matters is sponsored by Drug Free Athens, Ellison's Professional Services, and MediaRadioAthens.com. If you missed any portion of this program or would like to hear it again, it can be heard Saturday at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m., Monday at 5:30 p.m., or Tuesday at 10 a.m. on MediaRadioAthens.com. You can also listen on demand on our YouTube channel, Education Matters Network. Education Matters is a production of the High School Completion Initiative. Bye.
Bye.